This is Haley Brunell, and I'll go over some competitive advantages to consider. One is that Crazy Creek has a variety of top notch products when it comes to quality. Crazy Creek is also very well known in the outdoor accessory world, so its brand recognition gives it a major advantage. We believe that the location of the origin of Crazy Creek gives it an advantage as well. The origin is Red Lodge, Montana, and it's a place with a lot of outdoor activity options. This is important because the products were created to withstand the mountain climates in Montana, so they will definitely hold up in the mountains of Chile. Crazy Creek's reputation and proof of success in other markets provide an advantage for the company as well. Now I'll talk about some disadvantages to consider. These could include competitors offering similar products for lower prices or better perceived deals. These could include better warranties on products or better shipping options. Even though these could be possible disadvantages, we are still confident in the quality and policies that Crazy Creek has. Here's a map of Chile. About 90% of the population lives in the middle third of the country, and this is also where most of the major cities are at. If you didn't know, Chile is a country in South America. Fun fact, the landmass of Chile is slightly double the size of Montana. There are 4,000 miles of coastline with a couple of mountain ranges, including the Andes and Chilean coast mountains. There are many national parks and reserves in Chile, and it is also ranked number 2 on the list for levels of peace in South America. As you can see here, Chile is very long and narrow. This picture is a good representation of how long it is, because as you can see, it compares to a point starting in mid-Canada, stretching down to Mexico City in Mexico. Next, I will go over population. The official language of Chile is Spanish, and about 99.5% of the population speaks it. There are primarily indigenous ethnic groups or people in Chile can usually trace ancestry to Europe, which is pretty interesting. Catholicism is popular in Chile, with about 60% of Chileans identifying their religion as Roman Catholic. The population of Chile is about the same population as New York at almost 20 million people. Most of the people in Chile live around Santiago, which is the capital. Just a few facts. Roughly 88% of the Chilean population is considered urban, and this population provides retail opportunities for the country. The life expectancy is very good, being about 80 years of age. Another good thing is that the poverty rate in Chile is lower than its peers, but there is still the issue of income inequality. Another good thing is that there is a high literacy statistic for the country. Okay, wrapping up on population, a chair from Crazy Creek would be considered a small luxury for most of the people in Chile. Here we see that the purchasing power parity per capita is a little over 31,000 US dollars. The cost of living is 1.05 times more than the world average at $1,028. The human index value is 0.855, and this comes from several factors, including life length, quality, education, standard of living, and GDP. The only reason that Chile has a lower human index value than the United States is because of GDP.
My name is Colson Stensland, and I'll start on some health information. Chile has a average healthcare system compared to its neighbors in South America, which is to say that it is well functioning and well organized, as most countries in South America are. Access to healthcare is fairly easy for most Chileans, especially because they have a highly urban population. Some common health issues are smoking, drinking, cancer, other substance abuse. And the health systems in Chile are supported and organized by local, state, and federal government. Now for some infrastructure information. Chile could be energy self-sufficient, but does choose to import some energy. More on that later. Chile has paved roads between cities and is still investing in highways, bridges, and tunnels to further their infrastructure. The population does have widespread access to phones, both landlines and mobile phones, the internet, and television. Like I said earlier, Chile has a healthcare system, but also a good education system, agriculture, and other social and economic systems. The government does offer subsidies for those who cannot afford food or healthcare, similar to the US. Now for some information on the economic environment. Chile ranks 22nd on the Index of Economic Freedom worldwide, which makes it a great place to do business based off of that metric. Chile's GDP is 526.7 billion, which is a nearly 12% increase from last year, and this is from more international trade. The country is making large leaps in growth compared to most other countries, especially in that region, mainly due to international trade. And this leads to their GDP being the sixth largest per capita in the Western Hemisphere. These growing pains of increasing their GDP so much does come with a high inflation rate of nearly 12%, which is the lowest it's been in the past 3 months, but still fairly high, even though most of the world is experiencing severe inflation right now. The current exchange rate from US dollars to Chilean pesos is 810 pesos to one US dollar. This is quite a change from where the exchange rate was 5 years ago, where the peso, there was 603 pesos to one US dollar. Chile does have numerous natural resources. Just a few main or large ones are copper, wood pulp, fruits, other agriculture, and seafood from the coasts. Chile's major export destinations include China, Japan, South Korea, its neighbor Brazil, and the US. Chile heavily imports cars, equipment, and petroleum currently, and has numerous harbors for importing and exporting, Las Condes being the biggest one. And just overall, there are no red flags or any real reason to have worry or think of any huge risks economically if Crazy Creek was to expand into Chile.
My name is Bronson Sanders, and I'm going to talk about mode of entry. Mode of entry is the way that a company enters into another country to sell their products. There's different types of mode of entries like exporting, licensing, partnering, acquisition, joint venture, and greenfield venture. There's definitely advantages and disadvantages to both of these. The best mode of entry for Crazy Creek would more than likely be a joint venture, because a joint venture is when two parties come together to pool their services together to complete a project or a task. There's different types of joint ventures like cooperation, separate joint businesses, partnership, and a limited cooperation will be best, and I'll explain why shortly. And an example of this joint venture mode of entry would be like getting shelf space to be able to sell chairs in Chile at different stores, whether they're outdoor stores or whatever they may be. There are many advantages of this mode of entry. Crazy Creek would have access to new markets. The liability and the costs associated with this joining would be split up between both parties. The other company would bring knowledge and resources and skills and that maybe would benefit Crazy Creek to be able to increase the sales, which would also be an advantage. And the partner has knowledge on the cultures and the practices and the political systems, therefore they have insight on laws and regulations. A few of the disadvantages of this mode of entry is sometimes partners can have different expectations, and the communication barriers can cause unclear communications, which can cause unclear objectives. Cultural differences, of course, bring barriers, and sometimes the work is not evenly split between the two people. Making sure that the companies have similar cultures is the first aspect to starting a joint venture. Making sure the goals align up and the other company's finances align up with your finances in means of like they're not about to go under or whatever. And then financing the joint venture would be like creating a market plan and a cash flow projection, and then determining who would borrow what and how that would be paid back, and then how capital gains and capital losses would be divided. It appears that Crazy Creek's mode of entry to another company is similar to a joint venture. This method of entry gains shelf space in stores as a partnership, and it should result in more profit in Chile than simply exporting to Chile. Since the businesses in Chile already have like economic, political, and legal systems for this type of business, it would be easier to get started in Chile. So Chile definitely has a business-friendly environment, which is an advantage of, selling your products there, and it's one of the easiest companies to do business with in Latin America. Um, there's free trade agreements, many countries, not just the U.S., and then the legal and economic frameworks, infrastructure, government systems, and population all support an expansion to be successful in Chile. And the joint venture is recommended mode of entry into Chile. All of our team members, Bronson, Grace, Haley, Colson, and Marlo, would like to thank you for watching our presentation. We hope you enjoyed.